what's great about Melodyne is I can look and just move it into place without affecting the ornamentation. And that was a breakthrough for me. Yeah, I came into music through playing drums, really. I was a fanatical drummer at 10 years old and played in the shed outside the house and just carried on and joined bands when I was 12 and 13. And then I kind of got hooked in on recording, I suppose, late teens, trying to learn how you put stuff together and what made something sound good. We signed up a deal with Atlantic Records and then went to Hansa Studios in Berlin with a producer called Dave Allen, who did people like The Cure, a fantastic sort of inspiration. And I just remember him saying, you should be a producer, and it kind of just, somebody just sparked that in me, really, I think. And most of the work that I do tends to be in the organic area. And I do mix organic music with electronic music, but it comes from microphones rather than usually through plugins. No, Sinead and I met when we were pretty young. She'd have been 17, I would have been early 20s, and she had a lot of songs written, and we put a band together around her and went into rehearsal studios and just played the songs. And then Sinead and I rented a place up in the country, an old thatched cottage, and we set up a little 8-track up there, and we started to record all the songs we'd been rehearsing in the studio, and it sounded great. And I remember when we finally kind of ditched the first recording of the record, Nigel Grange phoned me and said, what about the 8-track versions? And they were great. I mean, we could have put them out, but I think for a first album they wanted to keep the high fidelity in the loop. So we went into another studio and did the album very, very quickly. So here we are, I guess we're 27 years later. And we've just made How About I Be Me and You Be You. It was a great experience. It was very kind of simple setup. We just set up in this room and I put a band together, we track laid, and then Sinead came in and did vocals in the same room. So it's very simple, direct communication between her and I. Damien Dempsey, yeah, we're just recording the album. We're coming towards the end. We've been 3 years making this record. We've done about 100 songs, and we've got our final 10. Damien's a very strong brogue. He has a lot of ornamentation in his vocal. We don't need to be too precise about tuning because he's pretty rough and ready in terms of a approach. So I think the main thing with Damien is just that we, if he sings something that we really love, if he sings something we really love and we want to keep it, but it feels like it needs to be brought into shape, then we can do that on Melodyne. What I try and do is get the sound right going in. We have old Neves and V76s and old, great valve amps that have a sound of their own, a unique sound, and and you get to know those on the way in. Crucial drums go through Neve, and then this runs a lot of the ancillary stuff like the room mics and stuff. And what I find really nice about the whole setup is that you can leave everything in situ. Everything can run. So if I decide I want to put some drums onto a song, somebody sends me it, I just go and play the drums. I don't need to go and get sounds, and they're all kind of there. In that Motown, remember the way they did kind of records then? They got the drums sounding good and then nailed them to the floor, I heard. So, good idea. I've worked with engineers where I've asked them to listen rather than look. Do things to the ear rather than just make, okay, you can see it looks out of tune, but let's have a listen. If it sounds right, let's leave it. Basically, I think, the Melodyne is coming in at the back end of the recording process. Analyze the vocal, see if anything feels like it needs work. I explain the system that we're working on, and I also I explain the fact that being completely in tune is not that important. Generally, the most important thing about a vocal performance to me, when I'm reacting emotionally to something, is great phrasing, great tone. That's what makes a great singer for me. And tuning is not as important as those elements, really. It's not important at all to me, really. I can nudge things into tune. Usually I'll just do it incrementally. I won't go 100%. I'll find the place where I feel comfortable and where it feels like, it's making sense. I remember the first time I ever opened DNA, and then I put in Gorecki, opened it, and just watched it open up. I couldn't really believe what I was seeing, to be honest. It was one of those miracle moments, and I thought algorithms can't be that simple that you can just pull them apart. I think with the DNA side of Melodyne, there is some really interesting approaches, and if you take whole performances, say a choral performance for instance, and you wanted to begin to compose from a choir, you could split up the choir, even though it's coming on the 2-track, or an orchestra or a band. I've used Melodyne in strange ways with Sinéad, because sometimes I'll use Melodyne in to use it as an effect. For instance, if she's got a top line running through a chorus, I might Melodyne her vocal and maybe pitch it up an octave. And sometimes, if or 2 octaves, because it can become chimey bell-sounding vocal then. It's not really a vocal anymore. It becomes more of an instrument. With Damien Dempsey, for instance, he's got a very rough brogue, and he's not going to be wanting to be in tune all the way through his song. He flies around, he uses a lot of ornamentation, as in old Irish sean-nós singing. This is really difficult to tune in any other programs other than Melodyne, because it straightens out that curve. So the shape of the vocal is exactly the same. It's just in tune. A little bit more. Not too much.